we'd like to welcome all the participants of the virtual seminar on quality assessment in higher education. I'm Professor Rosana Valéria de Souza e Silva, Executive Director of GCUB. This seminar is a fruitful result of the partnership between the International Cooperation Group of Brazilian University, GCUB, Al-Quds University, Birzeit University, and Bethlehem University, with special support from the Brazilian Embassy in Palestine. I'm pleased to introduce our distinguished speakers, moderator, and special guest. Speakers, Professor Dr. Joaquim José Soares Neto from University of Brasilia, and Professor Dr. Gladys Beatriz Barreiro from University of São Paulo, USP. We have as moderator our distinguished Professor Muna Matar, Assistant Vice President for Academic Affairs at Bethlehem University in Palestine. And I am pleased to introduce you our special guest and Ambassador Alessandro Candeias. Thank you very much, Ambassador Alessandro Candeias, to open for us and our assistants this very, very important opportunity to discuss with Palestine universities this important subject. And I would like now to give the floor for our special guest, Ambassador Alessandro. But before that, I would like to say that we are really glad to have the opportunity to cooperate with Palestine universities. GCUB is an association composed by 94 Brazilian universities distributed in our 5 regions. And our main mission is to promote the internationalization between our universities and the other institutions around the world in the 5 continents. So to have this opportunity to follow our cooperation with Palestine universities in this moment with this important subject is very, very important for us, and we are sure that we will have from today other important opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Neto. Thank you, Dr. Muna, Dr. Glads. Thank you, Ambassador, and Adriana, our secretary in Brasilia Embassy in Palestine. And I wish you a very, very nice seminar. Fortunately, I'm not in Brazil and Mexico City participating in another event. So I do apologize to say I cannot stay all event, but you are in very, very good hands. And thank you very much. Please, Ambassador Alessandro Candeias, with our a great thanks for receive our thanks for on behalf of all board of GCUB. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, my dear friend, Professor Rosana Silva, Executive Director of GCUB. I'd like to greet Professor Gladys Barreiro from University of São Paulo, Professor Joaquim Soares Neto from the University of Brasilia, and our Palestinian guest, Professor Muna Matar from the Bethlehem University. It's a great pleasure and honor for me to participate in this seminar. I'm really glad also to see that we have as partners 2 other great universities from Palestine, the Al-Quds University and the Birzeit University. The idea of this seminar emerged when you, Professor Rosana, visited Palestine last year. We had the pleasure of receiving you, and you visited universities of Bethlehem, Al-Quds, Birzeit, but also Nablus and Hebron. And from that visit, emerged the idea of networking the Brazilian and Palestinian universities. So this seminar is a result of that visit. And I remember quite well when we visited the University of Bethlehem, one of the demands for cooperation was precisely that of the interaction on the field of the assessment, quality assessment of the education, higher education. So this is a concrete result then of that visit. I know that quality assessment is one of the major issues for guaranteeing a high-level education in our countries. I do know that Brazil has a very long and solid experience in quality assessment, and it's very important for us to share this expertise, and I'm really happy to do this with Palestinian universities too. One of our goals from this networking of universities is to consolidate it in an institutional way. So we will be launching in December this year the Institute of Advanced Studies Brazil-Palestine. What is this institute? The idea is basically to connect universities, to connect these 5 universities in Palestine, namely, again, Bethlehem, Al-Quds, Birzeit, Hebron, and Nablus. And on the Brazilian side, the universities guided and mobilized by this GCUB association. This is a major endeavor, the idea of basically connecting all those universities in the fields of common interest. And the objective, our main goal, is to offer professors, students, researchers, all the means of cooperation, of international cooperation that are available and offered by all those universities. So the idea is to enhance exchange, to organize events like this one, to launch research lines of investigation and publication. So, of course, exchange of students and professors. So we can do a lot of things on the basis of this synergy between Brazilian and Palestinian universities. So very briefly, these would be my opening remarks. Thank you so much, Professor Rosana, for your leadership, your guidance, and I really appreciate the participation of the professors from Universidade de São Paulo, Brasilia, and Bethlehem. I wish you all a very, very fruitful event. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Alessandro Candeias, for your kind and very important words. And now, to provide our time better, I would like to give the floor for Professor Muna, our moderator for this session. Please, Dr. Muna, once more, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can perfectly.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for this long-awaited workshop and cooperation. I would like to start by thanking His Excellency, the Ambassador of Brazil to Palestine, and his team. His office really worked very hard to organize this. Also to you, Professor Rosana, and your team. Your visit to Bethlehem, as His Excellency said, was a very much appreciated visit, not only to Bethlehem University, but to Palestine in general and to our sister universities. And we are gathering here today to really celebrate the success of this visit and then a start of, I hope it will be a long-time cooperation between the International Cooperation Group of Brazilian universities and Palestinian universities. I'm, of course, Muna Matar. I am the Assistant Vice President for Academic Affairs at Bethlehem University. I'm also in charge of the Quality Assurance Office, the Academic Quality Assurance part of the university. And it's really my pleasure to be with you today and to listen to our esteemed speakers. I really looked at their CVs. It's impressive. I hope we will really listen carefully to their notes, and then we will have a very good discussion, really, to reflect and try at the end to come with a sort of a plan. I mean, I hope it's not a one-shot event. You know, we want this cooperation, as His Excellency said. I'm so glad for the launching of the Institute of Advanced Studies, Your Excellency, between Palestinian and Brazilian universities. We're really looking forward for that, and looking forward to having all sorts of academic activities together, and also for exchanging students and faculty, because I think this is very, very important for people to exchange experiences. So thanks all for this opportunity, and I would welcome everybody here on this virtual workshop. And it gives me really great pleasure to introduce our speakers for today. Our first speaker is Professor Gladys. By the way, your name is like my best friend's name here in Palestine, so I'm used to this name. Really an impressive bio. Professor Gladys comes from the University of Sao Paulo. She is an associate professor at the School of Art, Science, Humanities, and Graduate Studies in Education. She earned her PhD from the University of Sao Paulo. She worked as a consultant to the Ministry of Education in Brazil, and also she is a researcher. And her research interests and her research field is really very interesting and very important to this workshop. Her research interests are in the field of higher education policies, which is really very, very important, and the evaluation of the higher education at the local and regional and international level. Professor Gladys, of course, since she's a researcher, she's a publisher too. She published books and articles in renowned university. So I'm sure we will be listening very carefully to what you have to say, Professor Gladys, and thank you very much for sharing your experience with us. Please, you can start. Professor Gladys?
Good Okay, let's go. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. I will be talking about policies of assessment of higher education in Brazil, in both undergraduate and graduate systems. So, let's locate Brazil in the world. It is in South America, in the eastern part of the subcontinent. And now some data about the South American giant. Brazil has an area of 8.5 million of kilometers square. The population was more than 200 million in 2022. It is spoken Portuguese, and in the neighborhood, Spanish is dominant. The gross domestic product was nearly $3 trillion in 2022. The per capita income was more than $15,000 purchase parity power in 2022. It's the 12th economy in the world, but 87th position in the Human Development Index. More data about education shows that the expenditure in education is more than 6% of the nearly $10 trillion gross domestic product in 2022.
The population literacy is 99% of people aged 15 years and older. In Brazil, there is private education since the 19th century and maybe for-profit and not-for-profit since 1988. How is education organized in Brazil? To explain that, some things I have to simplify, and as we know, countries, educational systems, and cultures are all different in the world. Well, first, the basic education. 82% of the enrollments are public. In Brazil and in other South American countries like Argentina and Uruguay, public is a synonym of free tuition. Education is mandatory in Brazil, but only since 2009 is for ages 4 to 17, before it was from 6 to 14 only. Early childhood education is for ages 0 to 5. In Brazil, 94% of the children ages 4 and 5 are enrolled in that level. And in that level of education, the city government is responsible for enrollments. They have to offer free vacancies to all. Elementary school is for ages 6 to 14, and 98% of ages 6 to 14 are in school. This level is the responsibility of municipalities and the state's governments. And high school is for ages 15 to 17, and more than 75% of ages 14 and 17 are in school. This level is the responsibility of state governments. In relation to higher education, in Brazil, 20% of people aged 18 to 40 or to 24 is in. If we consider all ages, is nearly 40%. It is organized in undergraduate and graduate programs. The students obtain a diploma, bachelor, license, or technologist, and he or she may work as an engineer, a doctor, a nurse, etc. The programs last in general 4 years, maybe 5 in medicine, for example, or 3 in technological programs. The graduate programs are doctorate and master and are oriented to be a higher education professor, but also there are MBAs. And there are different types of higher education institutions like universities, which include research in their activities and generally have more quality. They have more than 50% of the enrollments. Another type are the federal institutes of education, science and technology, which include vocational and technological programs, but also traditional engineering programs and also teachers training programs, and they have only 1.5% of the enrollments, and university centers and colleges focus in teaching and not in research. They have 16 and 30% of the enrollments respectively. Higher education is a responsibility of the federal government, but it's not mandatory, it's meritocratic. Here we can see the number of higher education institutions. So there are 2,500 institutions of higher education, 250 are public tuition free, and 2,000 approximately is private. Universities, there are 2,000, public 1,000, only 91 private. And colleges, there are nearly 2,000, and public only 147. Enrollments, there are nearly 9 million, and nearly 7 million are private. Now I am going to focus on undergraduate assessment. One of the first proposals of evaluation was the University Reform Assessment Program, PARO, created in 1983. It was formative and should be conducted by the academic community in each higher education institution. In 1990s, the Program of Institutional Assessment of Brazilian Universities, PAIUB, was instituted in the ambit of the Ministry of Education. Evaluation as an outcome of a political act of the university would be an endogenous process, and the external evaluations would complemented the internal ones. The PAYU was not formally rendered inactive, but in 1996, it was deserted. The next one was the National Courses Exam, famously known as Pro Bono, big exam, created in a government that promoted the increase of private for-profit institutions, and the Pro Bono was a means for regulation. After this proposal, developed from the 80s and 90s, two different conceptions of evaluation began to arise. In one of them, evaluation had a formative function and was not linked to the subsidy, being an internal process. In the other, evaluation had a strictly regulatory role. Its result may have implications on the financing, and moreover, it was performed by external agencies. Nowadays, the undergraduate evaluation system was created since 2004, the National Higher Education Evaluation System, SINAIS. It has three axes: institutional evaluation, program evaluation, and a student exam. The undergraduate evaluation system has two procedures: the entrance, it is the evaluation of new programs or institutions, and permanence. It is the evaluation of undergraduate programs or institutions each 3 years. It is done each 3 years. In 2004 was instituted SINAI by federal law. It had been proposed by a committee of experts created by the governments. The declared goal of the evaluation was to improve quality, shutting the public mission of higher education. The SINAI established three independent axes: institutions, course, and students.
May I interrupt here, please?
Yes.
Very interesting. Could you please go back to the previous? I just wanted to ask about the student exam. You said it's on a national level. Does that mean that in a specific subjects, all students take the same exam when they finish? Is this correct or what?
Yes, it's in the finish in knowledges of their courses or programs.
Okay.
I will talk more about that in a few minutes.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you.
The first axis is institutional evaluation and involves two processes. One, a self-evaluation executed by an evaluation commission called CPA, especially created in each institution to organize such processes and with their relative independence. And the second is external evaluation, performed by a registered member, qualified and set by the Ministry of Education in a peer review manner. This visit the institution and evaluate 10 dimensions: teaching, research and undergraduate policies, mission, organization and management, social responsibility, infrastructure, evaluation planning, financial sustainability, student policies, communication with society, and human resources policies. So these are the quality criteria. The outcomes are expressed in grades 1 to 5. Grade 1 and 2 indicate weak points, and grade 3 indicate the minimum acceptable level for accreditation processes. Institutions or program grade 1 or 2 must sign a commitment protocol with the Ministry of Education with actions to be adopted. The grades help to calculate the General Course Index, IGC. The second axis is programs evaluation and has two processes also. One, data collection, which considers three dimensions: faculty, infrastructure, and curriculum. And two, in loco visit by peer reviewers only when needed. The program's grade 1 would receive visit of peer reviewers. The outcomes are expressed in grades 1 to 5 and help to calculate the course preliminary concept. excuse me, this is the correct slide. So data collection and in loco visits. And the national exam of student performance. It evaluates competences and skill set out from the national curriculum guidelines for each program. The ENADE is applied to students at the last year programs which triennally integrate the exam. The outcomes are expressed in grades 1 to 5 and help to calculate the course preliminary concept CPC. Who does the assessment? The INEP, autarchic organ of the Ministry of Education, is responsible for performing the evaluation. It organizes external evaluation and applies the exam. But with the implantation of the SINAIS, a new organ was created, the National Commission for Higher Education Evaluation, whose functions were the coordination and supervision of SINAIS. Differing to other similar agencies, it was part of the ministry. The CONAIS was neither a regulatory authority, nor did it perform the evaluation. It was a commission which advised about evaluation technical questions. Especially, it would provide guidelines for the preparation of instruments of evaluation. Other ones are the National Board of Education. It does the accreditation of higher education institutions. The CPA, it does institutional self-evaluation, and peer reviewers do external institutional evaluations and programs evaluations. As a conclusion, SINAIS intended to join formative and regulatory evaluation, but only the self-evaluation, the first step of institutional evaluation, has a formative character. The other instruments focus on regulation. Prominence of private higher education institutions, massified and changing higher education system led SINAIS to prioritize regulatory evaluation. And there are a lot of external evaluation actions taking place every year. Now I am focused on graduate evaluation system. Yes. In Brazil, the developing of research in Brazilian universities was made mostly by means of graduate studies since 1968. A national graduate program was created in the mid-1960s, and it was regulated by 1965 by a law named Parecer Sucupira by the Federal Board in Education. Since then, the proposals of graduate courses in Brazil from public or private institutions must be submitted to CAPES for evaluation and approval. Without this procedure, no title is valid. The Parecer Sucupira also established that graduate programs may offer master's and PhD degrees. CAPES is a federal agency within the Brazilian Ministry of Education, created in 1951 to train human resources. It is responsible for evaluating, accrediting, and financing the Brazilian graduate courses. Today, 548 higher education institutions offer 4,592 programs, 7,077 courses with more than 109,000 professors, and 424,000 students. Also, there are more than 1 million productions as books, paper, maps, etc. PhD, master, vocational master, and vocational PhD are offered. The graduate evaluation system was implemented by CAPES in 1976. The aims were to monitor development, to ensure quality, and to induce improvement and internationalization. Until the mid-90s, the evaluation of the graduate programs aims to monitor courses and their, excuse me a minute. Until the mid-90s, the evaluation of the graduate programs aims to monitor courses and their performances and to recommend how to construct or improve their programs. But in mid-19th, the evaluation results very linked to grades from 1 to 7 to the number of master and PhD scholarships received by each program. The minimal grade trade maintains the program active. The graduate evaluation system is under the responsibility of the CAPES Evaluation Directorate, and it is organized in 9 areas and 49 sub-areas. The 9 areas are health sciences, human sciences, agriculture, engineering, social sciences, exact and earth sciences, multidisciplinary, linguistic, literature and arts, and biological sciences. 49 sub-areas, for instance, human sciences have included philosophy, sociology, history, and education. And for instance, education, it has education policy, curriculum, economy of education, etc. The 49 sub-areas are represented in the Scientific Technical Committee by 18 members. Each sub-area has a scientific coordinator and 2 assistant coordinators indicated both by all the authoritative courses. Also, more than 900 consultants work in a peer review manner. How does the evaluation system functions? Entrance, evaluation of new courses, and permanence, evaluation of graduate courses made each 4 years. And there are 2 procedures. For the new courses, recognition and approval of new courses proposed by universities and research centers, it is carried out by a peer review system. It is considered institution, program, project, faculty, production. That are the quality criteria. After evaluation, CAPES recommend or not the course to the National Board of Education for homologations and then to the Ministry of Education for approval. Then the course may operate for 5 years and can be renewed after new evaluation. The second procedure, approved courses are monitored by CAPES annually. Their performances are re-evaluated every 4 years by peer reviewer system. The evaluation performance are linked to grades from 1 to 7 to the number of master and PhD scholarships received by each program. The minimal score 3 permit to maintain the program active. In order to achieve score 6 and 7, the programs are required to perform at international levels. The evaluation process has 5 steps. Data collection, in which institutions submit annual information through the data gathering application. Step 2, data processing. The information provided by institutions is processed by CAPES staff. Step 3, sub-areas committee analysis. Academic programs undergo assessment by committees of experts, which produce reports including their evaluations and grades assigned on a scale of 1 to 7. Step 4, scientific technical committee analysis and decision. Reports from sub-areas committees are reviewed by scientific technical committee reporting members who present conclusive reports to the board. The board analyzes these reports and makes decisions regarding program grades. And step 5, National Board of Education deliberation. The final reports from scientific and technical committee are submitted to the National Board of Education for homologations and then to the Ministry of Education for approval and or renewal of program accreditations. How do the evaluation run? The current evaluation is based on 3 axes: the program goals, training, and impact on society, which are described by each course in the evaluation form. Also, each X has the following items. Each axis has the following items. Program has the items articulation, adherence, and actualization. Faculty, strategy planning, auto-evaluation, self-evaluation. The axis training has the items thesis, quality, and adequacy. quality of faculty and student production, egress destination, faculty research and intellectual production, involvement of faculty in student formation, and the impact on society has the items innovative intellectual production, economic, social, and cultural production, and internationalization. There are some examples of indicators used in the axis. There are more than 300. So faculty productivity, scholarship, adherence, egress, class time for faculty, partnerships, financing, faculty tenure, faculty qualification, curriculum change, publication, examining board, production, distribution with faculty, production with students. Conclusion. The evaluation process was efficient for the institutionalization of research and also for the expansion of the graduate programs. Also, it had collected some critics, especially to lead to greater formalization and homogenization, and for being excessively quantitative and not formative. So it was proposed the application of a multidimensional evaluation in 2018 in order to let each institution emphasize one or more dimensions. The dimensions are training, basic research, innovation and knowledge transfer, and social relevance. Training would be mandatory and internationalization runs through the axis. Each program should focus on one or more and be evaluated in this, but it doesn't happen yet. The proposal didn't happen yet. And this is all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think this was a very rich period of information, at least for me. I noticed from the participants, probably I'm the only one from outside Brazil watching, but to me, this was really, really interesting because I am working in this area. And I think you have a system that, you know, we could learn from actually. Of course, Brazil is an independent country, a very important country, a big country. Of course, we cannot compare it to Palestine. His Excellency, of course, knows the situation here in Palestine and our Ministry of Higher Education, you know, what difficulties we have. But I think you have an excellent system. I think you have introduced very, very important point that I will personally be interested in for my university. But I also know, having worked with the ministry, with our accreditation and quality assurance office at the ministry, that they have been trying to achieve only some of what you have achieved, of what you have described. But because of the difficulties, it hasn't been possible. The idea of external evaluation, and you do it every 4 years, of internal evaluation is something that we say that we have, but we really don't practice very well. You know, it's not very much regulated like you have explained, you know. So I really hope that we can cooperate together to, I don't want to say exchange experiences, because, you know, our experiences are still modest with regards to yours, but to learn from each other and to learn basically from you. So I have other things to say, but I don't know if others would like to comment before I continue.
No, thank you. It's okay.
It's okay, I can continue. Actually, one interesting point that you mentioned that I am very much interested in and working on this academic year, you call it evaluating program goals. We use a different term, we call it program outcomes. You know, so for each program there are outcomes, and we really want to make sure that our programs are achieving their outcomes. You know, if we say that we're going to teach the student 1, 2, 3, we have to make sure that the student is learning 1, 2, 3, and to what level. You know, we have to be able to measure to what level we are doing this. And this is, of course, a very important step in the evolution and, assessment of our program and development of our program. So I think, of course, you have mentioned so many important points. I tried to take notes. I have so much notes here. A question now, this system is done for public and private universities, right?
Yes, for public and private universities, all the universities.
Yes.
And another
Okay.
higher education institution, not only universities. We have a lot of
Yes.
faculties, colleges, and other sort of institutions. Yes.
Yes, and I like the idea of the areas of knowledge when you talked about the areas of knowledge, because this makes you concentrate, you know, like I'm sure that, you know, any university cannot do all programs, you know, in 4 years. So I'm sure there is the cycle of evaluation. My question, you mentioned about the different institutions, organizations, the publications. Everything is in Portuguese, right? Nothing in English, or do you have everything in English?
Everything is in Portuguese. It is possible to minister some disciplines in another languages, but there are no many experiences.
No, what I meant is that all your policies, your regulations, you know, the steps that you talked about, and all of this, all your documentation about the way you do your procedures, your steps, everything is in Portuguese, right?
The graduate is in Portuguese. I didn't find something in English, but the SINAIS, when was created, it has some document. It has some documents in English. So
because
there are some
I think it
of the undergraduate evaluation. There are some documents in English. Yes, and Spanish.
I think it's very I think it's very important. What I've heard, you know, from those 30 minutes or so was, to me, very interesting, and I think I can find areas of interest for us to discuss with you and to learn from you, and probably to cooperate in the future, and basically to see this system that you just explained. You know, it's nice to explain it, but I'm sure there are challenges. You know, people face challenges when you do all of these. This is a huge system, of course. It would be nice to see it and see how people practices. But I think you have described it in a very good way, and I hope we can have your presentation because I think it was you know, brief but rich. We can really learn from it.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm just, because I am in the area and I find your presentation very interesting. And thank you very much for your time and for your presentation. And I hope, you know, we can build some bridges of cooperation with you as an expert in the field, and, you know, Palestinian universities in general, but in particular, Bethlehem University. Probably we can do it through the institute that His Excellency said that they will be launching soon. I don't know when, but the Institute of Advanced Studies, that would be an area we could explore.
Yes, it would be a pleasure. And I can send you, some documents in English and the presentation also, if you want.
That would be really nice. You know, I'm in charge of the quality assurance, and this year on our plan, we are going to start only assessing the learning outcomes of programs, what you call them program goals. We are starting with program outcomes, and it would be really interesting if you have anything in English about program outcomes and how you do assessment and the steps, and if you have procedures and all of this, that would be nice. So what we are doing is that we have a quality assurance or assessment cell in every faculty. We have 6 faculties at Bethlehem University, and this cell will be responsible for helping programs do the assessment of the learning outcomes. I hope, we can draft a plan how to do it. We have to come up with this plan this year to do the assessment of the outcomes or the goals of the programs.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Any comments from the others? I'm sorry, I maybe talk too much, but this is very interesting.
So thank you very much, Dr. Gladys Barreiro, and thank you, Dr. Muno, for your very important comments. And I think we can move forward now to Professor Joaquim Neto, and at the end we will have another few minutes to discuss and to open for some questions, other questions. Okay, we can do like that.
Yeah,
and
fine.
Please, Anna, put the slide with the CV, short CV, and please, Dr. Mona, you can go on. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and it's my pleasure now to introduce Professor Joaquim Neto. Professor Neto comes from the University of Brasilia, and he received his doctorate from Denmark and his postdoctorate from the USA, California Institute of Technology. And very interesting that he has also been working in the research area of evaluation of higher education and basic education, which is really very important. He held very important positions. He was the counselor of the Chamber of Higher Education of the National Council of Education and other positions, very important positions. But he currently works at the Center of Public Policy and Evaluation Assessment. And I think this is very important. And I'm sure Professor Joaquim, his experience will really enrich our discussion today. Thank you, Professor, for accepting to do this. And please, the floor is yours.
Good morning for the Brazilians, the people who are watching the presentations from Brazil. Good afternoon for other people. Professor Muna Matar, good morning, and thank you for the kind introduction. Ambassador Alessandro Candeias, Professor Gladys Barreiro from the University of São Paulo, and also everybody who are watching us. So Professor Gladys, Professor Hosanna, I think she had to leave. So Professor Gladys gave us fine details about the assessment programs for both undergraduate and graduate education in Brazil. I will focus my presentation on the legislations that give support to such programs. So I will complement her presentation with the legislation. So let me share my screen. Okay, is it okay? Everybody seeing? it?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, good. So let's go. The main legal milestones for the programs that Professor Gladys it is from 1988. The law of guidelines and base, the 1996. The Sinai's law that we had fine details, and some presidential decrees. I think there are 5 since the Sinai's law. So they are the pillars. They are where all our programs, assessment programs, are based on. The first things are the following. In the last decades of last century, the 2 last decades, Brazil had many discussions about the education. So the process of discussing the new constitution, education played a very important role. And I will give here 2 articles of our federal constitution that are very important for what happened after the federal constitution started. The article 207, it says, universities enjoy didactic, scientific, administrative, and financial and asset management autonomy, and will obey the principle of inseparability between teaching, research, and extension. So this is very important in the Brazilian higher education system. So those 3 points: teaching, research, and extension. So the assessment will take care of those 3 pillars. This article 209 says education is open to private sector subject to the following conditions: compliance with the general norms of national education, and 2, authorization and quality assessment by the government. So as we saw, the Brazilian higher education is highly regulated by the federal government. So, and the base for that is in our constitution. So what the following laws, they really went on to deepen this kind. And now I go to the law of guidelines and basis. Article 45, higher education will be provided in higher education institutions, public or private, with varying degrees of coverage or specialization. So as you see, our constitution, the private education, the institutions of education that are private, they always had a role in our education since the beginning of Brazil in the 16th century. But our constitution gave another role for the private education. So we had in that moment a desire that we had to increase the number of students in higher education. So it happened. And as Gladys showed a board there, that the most part of students nowadays, they belong to the private institutions. And then Article 46, the authorization and recognition of courses, as well as the accreditation of higher education institutions, we have limited terms being periodically renewed after a regular evaluation process. So each institution, each course has to depending on the conditions of the institution, and so it's periodically. So the institutions that do that, the federal institutes that do that, they had really a lot of processes going on all the time. And now comes the Sinais that Gladys talked about, and I will point out one point here. The purpose is the paragraph number 1. The purpose of Sinais are to improve the quality of higher education, guide the expansion of its offer. So it's very important in the beginning of the century, the expansion of the higher education in Brazil. Permanently increase its institutional efficiency and academic and social effectiveness, and especially promote the deepening of the institution's commitment and social responsibilities of higher education through the enhancement of its public mission, the promotion of democratic values, respect for differences and diversity, the affirmation of autonomy and institutional identity. What's important, so in this point here, in the law of Sinais, is that for both public and private institutions, they are very important socially. So they are strategic for the Brazilian development. So that's the reason the government, the federal government, has to regulate them. So that's the way the things happen. In the second paragraph is Sinais, when promoting the evaluation of institutions, courses, and students' performance, shall ensure the results of the assessment referred to in the caption of this article will constitute a basic reference for the process of regulation and supervision of higher education, including the accreditation, renewal of accreditation of higher education institutions, the authorizations, recognition, and renewal of courses in undergraduation. And now the 3 axes, Gladys already mentioned them. So from Sinais is Institute Evaluation, Program Evaluation, National Exam of Student Performances. I will not give more detail because I think we had already saw that. How are the Brazilian higher education institutions? Colleges. The colleges, they are focused on teaching mainly. Educational center, they have more autonomy, and they do research and also extension, but they are also the main focus is the teaching. And then the universities. The universities have to have the 3 main pillars. So, I mean, the teaching, extension, and research. So this is very important when the universities are assessed. So the committee will take care, if the university is doing that. They are public, non-profit. They are free from any taxes. The students enter the university and everything is free. There is no tuition fee in Brazil for the public universities. The community, they are private and non-profit. The public universities are public. The community universities, they are private, non-profit, and the students must pay tuition fee. The confessional are institutions linked to religions. So they are also non-profit, but they charge fees. And finally, the private for profit. So they have profit. They are companies. And the higher education has the bachelor degree, the undergraduation, the graduation. They can be or academic or technological, and then the masters can be also academic or professional masters, and also the PhD, the doctorate, can be academic or professional. Nowadays, the professional masters, they are increasing quite a lot because they focus on students that are already working in some company or in public institutions, though they want to go to the university to continue their formation, so they go to the professional masters. And then some important numbers, the final part of my talk. As you see here from this graph, the main goal of increasing the number of students in the higher education, it has been achieved in those 2, 3, or mainly in this century. So we see here in the beginning of the century, and then we go there. You see a very impressive increase of number of students. The main part of the students, the second line here, the middle line, they are due to the private institutions. And you see here some laws I put here that were important to motivate, to give incentive for the increase. So we have the laws. Professor Mona, afterwards I can send you those laws that in English. I will try to get them in English, because I think it's important to see how Brazil did to increase the number of students for the higher education. And then you have here the number, always you see here is the number of students. They increase quite a lot in the private schools. And finally, the number of institutions. Gladys already gave this information, so I will finish here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Again, a very interesting presentation. I see, I've heard some of the topics that I'm really very much interested in. Your regulation, you talked about that the assessment and the quality assurance is regulated in your institution, which is really, I think, very important. It means that the country is taking this, on a different level, very serious. The idea of that you have the teaching, research, and extension is very important. I really would like to ask about what do you mean by extension, because we have almost similar ideas. Probably I'll talk about them, but I want to know, what do you mean by extension?
Sure. This is a very important question, because it's the part of the student, when the students are in the university or in the higher education institution, they must collaborate with the society.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Actually, we have the same idea, but we call it community engagement. This is what we call it, you know. And actually, it's in the every faculty member at the university in their contract. It says that you have 3 responsibilities. You have teaching, research, and we call it service and community engagement. And very recently in our strategic plan, we have established a new body, a new center at the university, which is really taking this idea of community engagement very seriously and trying to have it both ways. How the university can influence the society, but also how can our programs be informed by the society, be influenced by the society. So it's a two-way street between the institutions of higher education and the community. I think the idea is really very well. I was very much interested when you talked about your national higher education system, assessment system. Sinus, you call it. I don't know how you pronounce it, but I think this is very important the way you explained it. The idea of improving, the most important idea, improving of the quality of higher education is really very interesting. And I see that there are, of course, practices, policies that you have that we can really benefit from. The idea again of the language might be a barrier, you know, if we, you know, because we don't speak Portuguese and you don't speak Arabic, so English is the only medium of communication. The idea of increasing the number of students was also interesting. I'm saying this because at Bethlehem University, part of our strategic plan was, first of all, Bethlehem University is a very small institution in Palestine. Probably the ambassador, His Excellency, he visited us and he knows that we are small in size, but we are, I think, big in the effect. And we only have something like 3,500 students. And our goal was to raise this to, 4,300, 4,500. But it has been difficult because of the political situation and the number of universities that have been established in Palestine. Of course, the number of universities in Palestine is influenced by the occupation. Mobility is very, very restricted in Palestine. And that's why you have universities almost, close to each other and in every city of Palestine. So, yes, we were hoping to increase the number of students, but we were not successful because of the competition between the different institutions. But again, really, thank you very much for this.
Professor Mona,
I hope. Yes.
We used 2 strategies. One is scholarship, give scholarship for the students. So. And the other strategies was loan. So the students get the money to pay the tuition fees and so on, and then they will pay back the federal government when they are.
They take loans. You mean they take loans from the government?
Yeah, sure. That's.
But I thought I heard you saying that the public universities are free, but you're talking about the private universities, right?
No, because the public universities, they don't have enough places for all those students. The government gave some kind of money for them to pay the tuition fees and then they pay back when they are working 5, 6
So they take loans. Of
loans.
course. Yeah, they take loans. Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't have this luxury. You know, Palestine is under occupation and very poor. And, I understand that your public universities are financially supported by the government, right? Yes, I see. Yeah. For us, almost all universities are public, but on paper, we are supposed to be supported by the government financially, but actually for the last probably 10 years, we haven't been getting anything from the government. So what we do is that we depend very much on fundraising. You know, students pay tuition, but the tuition is really very minimal. A student only covers up to 50% of what they cost. They don't really cover the full cost of the student. So they only cover 50% of what they cost. And the rest of the money, the universities have really to work very hard to do fundraising to cover their own the expenses. So things, of course, are different. But in terms of higher education, I see that we have crossing points, and I hope that we can really cooperate in the future, because it's very interesting what you have, what you just explained yourself, Professor, and Professor Gladys is also, I mean, for both of you, really. Thank you very much for this very informative, to me, very informative and useful, and I can see areas of cooperation also. Probably His Excellency, the Ambassador, probably we need to organize a meeting to talk about further steps, probably to carry on with this. You know, we don't want to leave it, as I said, just one event and that's it, you know.
Yeah, surely. If you allow me, I'd like just to make some comments on the presentations and your proposal.
Yes.
I thank Professor Gladys and Professor Joaquim for presenting you, Professor Muna, the institutional framework, the legal framework of the quality assessment mechanisms that we have. You will be now familiar with names like CAPES, the national agency, INEP, that from the Ministry of Education, the SINAIS, the system for evaluation. So all those mechanisms you will be familiar from now on. One thing that I think it's important to understand while talking about the role of the universities in Brazil is that universities are very important for democracy in Brazil, for social change in Brazil, for, I would say, social mobility, social upward mobility. So we have this very clear, the importance of strengthening universities as a means of gaining or arriving to a more, a better society. Okay, to give opportunities for studying, for upward social mobilities for social classes. This is why public universities are completely free, so that this can allow hundreds of thousands of students from the lower classes to have access to knowledge and to change their lives. So we depart from this very, I would say, political view. And this is also interesting because, as you saw in the numbers of higher education institutions, the number of private universities is much, much bigger than the public ones. But the quality of the public universities is much, much better than those of the private institutions. This is why the quality assessment is very tough on the private institutions, because some are open just for a profit and they do not rely on very good quality. So this is why the evaluators look with a very tough eye with the outcomes, the educational outcomes of the private institutions. Also, as you noticed, one of the criteria that maintains a higher level of evaluation for graduate studies is the ability to be open to international cooperation. So this cooperation with Palestine will be of interest of many Brazilian universities, because this will they will be rewarded by this as positive evaluation when the next round of peer reviews and agents and consultants visit the university. So cooperating on an international level is very important for maintaining high level of assessment of our graduate studies. I think it will be important on the Brazilian side to better know also the reality of the Palestinian university, the challenges. You mentioned the occupation, you mentioned the problem with the financing. I think it's really important for the Brazilian researchers and authorities also to better know the reality here, so that we can better cooperate and not only exchange what we have got, but also learn from your own experiences, because living here, I see that we have very similar challenges also. Finally, as you said, this is just the first meeting. This is the beginning of a plan for cooperation, which I wish really to work on. I think that we could visit the Ministry of Higher Education and talk to him about what possible fields, concrete fields of cooperation, of national demands from Palestine we could present to the Brazilian side, to our Ministry of Education, to our universities, to the GCUB association, which is, as you know, now from Professor Hosanna, involves more than 90 universities. So certainly some of them will be willing to exchange these experiences with their evaluation experiences with yourselves. So yes, I think we can draft a plan as you proposed. We could then visit the Ministry of Higher Education to talk specifically about this. What can we plan for cooperation in the next years? And also, as I mentioned, we are planning to open this institute, to launch this Institute of Advanced Studies. This could be a very concrete chapter for cooperation within this institute. I mean, yesterday, just a little parenthesis, we made yesterday a very interesting seminar on language, on Arab and Portuguese teaching. So this will be one chapter. Today we're talking about quality assessment. Yes, let's focus on this also. So from now on, we will be discovering common areas of interest for this institute to work with. So certainly quality assessment will be one of those. So these will be the comments. Certainly we will be in touch from now on. And I'm really happy with all the presentations. And thank you so much again, Professor Gladys and Joaquin. I think you're on mute.
Microphone.
Microphone.
Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you. I think you have outlined a good plan for the future. Although I have to just mention one thing, is that it's good to visit the ministry and talk to them about the plan and everything. But if we are going to wait for the ministry, this is going to take ages, especially now, you know, that we have a change in the ministers, and the Minister of Education has resigned. And, you know, yes, that could be maybe a long-term plan, but probably a short-term plan is to start something with specific, very small, but specific with Bethlehem University. Probably we could achieve, you know, we could achieve something concrete in that, with, of course, with going to the ministry, but starting something really concrete with Bethlehem University.
Okay, I agree, totally.
Yeah. Probably you can visit us again at the university, or maybe we can come and visit you. You know, we have a new vice president for academic affairs now. She only started 5 days ago. So it will be a good opportunity for you to get to know our new Vice President.
With pleasure, I'll be there.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much from me. Of course, as you said, this is not going to be the end. This is only the beginning. I would like to thank the presenters for very informative sessions. I would like to, of course, thank the Professor Rosanna and the International Cooperation Group of Brazilian universities, her team, and of course to you, Your Excellency, with your team, for initiating this and starting this, and for your interest. And as I said, this is only the first step in our journey together.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all, and I'm done if there are no other comments or questions.
Well, I believe we do not have any questions on the chat. Well, I think it's this. And on behalf of the GCUB, on behalf of Professor Hosanna, who unfortunately had to participate in another meeting, we would like to express our sincere appreciation for your participation. Thank you very much, Professor Muna, Professor Gladys, Professor Joaquim, and also the Ambassador Alessandro Candeias. It's such an honor to count on your presence today. And we extend our thanks and our thoughts to, okay.
Yes, just one question. I think this, our meeting here is recorded on YouTube, right? So that others, Professor Muna, if you wish, you can send this
I will share
our
it.
chat, yeah, exactly, to others so that they can benefit from this exchange. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I will
Be on your YouTube.
And please remember to send us the presentations, please. And if you have anything you could share with us in English, it will be very much appreciated.
Very good. So that's it. Thank you again.
Thank you.
We hope to have more informative and such with such importance sessions like this in the future. Thank you all.
I hope so. I really hope so. Thank you all.
Shukran. Obrigado. Tchau.
Shukran. Ma